James and Rita, so Albo did his big budget reply speech during the week, and he seemed to strike on one particular theme: climate change.
Climate change is here, and its consequences are devastating. Just look at what we've announced on climate change. Powering Australia. Labor will end the climate wars, tackle the challenge of climate change. We will act on climate change and seize the chance to transform our country. Dealing with climate change presents opportunities.
So James and Rita, now he's ripping off Tim Flannery and Greta Thunberg, so he's got a new theme.
Well, Rowan and Rita, it's really, really interesting because you called it his budget reply speech, but the funny thing about a budget is that you expect there to be some numbers and costs and figures in there. And this was a speech that was very much not about this. But it's funny, though, that he talked about climate because he also talked about old people and aged care, which we do agree in this country needs a lot of work. But there's a very funny, cynical bit of politics happening here. You know, in 2019, Bill Shorten said, climate change, that's testing well. Let's run out with that in the election. But people said, I'm not so sure about paying for it. And he fell over. Now, Albo has said, well, aged care, that's testing well. We've had 2 years of don't kill grandma through the pandemic and all of that. Maybe they'll pony up for this. So I think it's very cynical what's going on here.
Well, very old school thinking from you, James, wanting to get figures and facts and numbers. I mean, this is just feelings.
So reactionary, I know.
It's all about feelings. What makes you feel good? Doesn't matter what it costs. Doesn't matter about the debt we leave the children. Doesn't matter if we become bankrupt. As long as we feel good about it. And here we go. This is what Labor's going to be like. It is going to be Biden on steroids.
Absolutely.
It is going to be a catastrophe. I'm not exaggerating here.
We've got a
catastrophe.
We've got a great clip with Labor leader Anthony Albanese being caught out unable, as James says, to explain how to pay for it. But also, James and Rita, this comment about climate change, which was really disturbing. We laugh about climate change the whole time. But Albanese seems to think that China, the reason that the Solomon Islands have cozied up to China is because we don't do enough on climate change. So they're cozying up to the most polluting nation on the planet. Have a listen to these weird comments.
Australia sits in the naughty corner with Saudi Arabia and Brazil at these conferences. Now, I've attended climate change conferences, as has Andrew Charlton, as part of Australia's delegation. And I assure you that for the Pacific, for our friends, it is the number one issue. It's a threat to their very existence.
Oh,
so Rita,
well,
James, so the Solomon signs up to China because we're not doing enough on climate change. Is that
so? Like you said, they opt to go with the biggest polluter because they care so much about climate change. I mean, he is either a foreign policy dunce, has absolutely no idea about the region and what's happening, or he is just willing to say anything. He is willing to say anything to get elected, no matter how ridiculous, because he knows that much of the media isn't going to hold him to account. And if it convinces a few people who are low information voters, then so be it. I mean, this is...
But James, you know, we are in serious... You know, the world is a much more dangerous place than even 3 or 4 months ago. We are seriously contemplating a Prime Minister who thinks climate change is more important than confronting communist aggressors?
Well, I mean, the thing is that we've had a holiday from history until very, very recently, and now all of a sudden it is on us big time. We're seeing it in the Solomons with the security arrangement with China. We're seeing it in Ukraine. We're seeing it with threats to Taiwan. Now, the idea that somehow the Solomon Islands are not going with us, you know, because of climate change, that's nuts. Nobody believes that. The reason why they're going with China is because of the one thing that wasn't in the budget reply speech, which was actual figures, dollars, and cents.
Exactly.